all. So welcome to the new episode of For the Love of the Game Cricket Podcast. So we had a pretty okayish kind of a India South Africa series. Now the Indian home season is about to start. So it's starting with a bang with the 5 match test series against England. So that is I think the main attraction from test cricket point of view if we are looking forward right now. And it's a bit of an interesting series because England, since the Bazball have been dominating, say in Pakistan or elsewhere, even in Asian pitches, but it's been flatter conditions. But so it's kind of interesting to see if they can do something for them. It will be kind of a final frontier kind of a thing, because for any team actually who comes to India, because it's a happy breeding ground for India. It's kind of unbreachable. This winning a series in India is kind of unthinkable as of now from other countries' point of view, because we have been so dominant for so long. So yeah, let's talk about that. So the very concept of Bazball, right? So how can it match up in India and Indian conditions? So so Pranav, if I may come to you first, or okay, Prakash, go, since you were taking on England today. So how do you see Bazball performing in India given the mindset of very much attacking batting, and where do you see Bazball coming into play as a bowling unit overall? So how do you what's your take on it?
So
Yeah.
it's a very good question. Listen, we have to be careful, okay? Because this is my humble opinion, I think the most improved batsman in Test cricket in the last 18 months, there are two names I'll pick. One is Travis Head and the other is Ben Duckett. Ben Duckett goes under the radar, but he came here in 2016. He looked clueless. Ashwin, his foot would go one place and Ashwin would just take him off.
Right.
Now that's not the story. He's opening the batting, and in India, it's actually sometimes better to open the batting, right?
Right.
He is I don't see Zach Crawley doing. He'll come, he'll make a few 50s. Zach Crawley is not somebody who's going to this thing, but Duckett holds a very big key. Obviously, there's Joe Root. Now, I am more interested in the fact that what England are going to do with their keeper, because more than Bazball and their batting playing out, if Bairstow is going to keep and he's going to let go of stumpings, like the one in the first test at Edgbaston where he missed Green and then Green put a partnership on, and that ended up being vital in the whole scenario of the game. So more than their batting, which I'm not too worried about, I don't see Ashwin and Jadeja and a combo of maybe Aksar and Bumrah and maybe Siraj getting worried. There will be times that they will dominate over us. You will come across a flat track. And at that time, I am interested in seeing how India will sort of counter to that. But I don't know if this will work over here, because on day 3, day 4, if you start to play that way, you're not going to suffer. A team like Australia couldn't bat a full session in Indore. We lost that game. I don't deny that. But, you need to have a few basics in place. That's my take on it so far.
Yeah. So fair enough. So I think I was watching a podcast in Sky, Graham Swan was kind of a part of it. Michael Atherton and Nasir Hussain was doing that. So they were talking about Tom Hartley as a very tall 6'4"
Yes.
kind of a spinner. So I think if the conditions are helpful in India, maybe he can be a handful, because he's more of a hit the pitch in the right areas kind of a bowler. Nothing extraordinary, how you actually Akshar Patel kind of a thing maybe you can get from him. I don't know. So but the thing is that I was going through the England squad, their spinners, everybody's pretty unknown. It's there actually, especially their spinning department is, everybody's kind of, they're giving people chance to see what, it's a bit of a experimentation process for them as well. So anyway, so if we continue on this England squad before we move on to the Indian part with Pranav. So how do you see the entire squad? So do you think that it is proper? I think James Anderson, Mark Wood is there as their pacers, mainly Ollie Robinson is there. So overall, any particular player you're looking forward to from an English side, this series to look forward to, can be the X factor or something like that?
Look, I don't know too much about their spinners. I saw that episode you're talking about.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. And this guy Shoaib Bashir is somebody who at least Rob Key thinks very highly of. He's got only 10 wickets, but apparently the last game he played, it was against Afghanistan, and he came and took a quick 3-for, and based on that he got picked.
Okay.
So he's a tall off spinner, and Hartley is also a pretty tall left arm spinner. But I don't see Jack Leach is their number 1 spinner, but he's also coming with he's got a baggage of injuries. So he will play, and I have a feeling. Don't forget Rehan Ahmed. This
Right.
guy is a good batsman also, and he's a good leg spinner. He took a 5 for in Pakistan on debut. He sort of worries me because on day maybe he will not come into play on day one, but as you keep going deeper, leg spinner is always going to be a handful. And I think Leach will come and do a holding job in the first few this thing. I have a feeling Anderson will also play any sort of wicket. I have a feeling he'll play in Hyderabad. It reverses there. And if you remember the last time Chennai in the second innings, he finished the game in 2-3 overs. He got Pant, he got uh, Gill, and he got Raina. No,
Aditya Rahane.
Rahane. Yeah.
Rani. So I see him featuring in 1 or 2 games at least, and he'll be like the mentor of sorts. But here's my problem with England, and I have a feeling that they've still not come out of this. Ever since Jonathan Trott, in 2014 has gone away because of his mental illness, they have not been able to find this number 3 player who can hold the innings and play both, who can play like an opener, or when the openers give you a good start, he can keep the game going and the flow going, you see. Ollie Pope is not that answer. I think Ollie Pope will struggle over here. Although he's the vice captain, I don't see, unless he's made a massive change in his game and stuff like that, I don't see him getting too many runs over here. So they need to make sure that, they bat well, and they, in England, you can get away by making 300, 350 runs, and with the Duke's ball, their bowlers will come. Here, 350 is nothing. You need to post scores of 450, 500 in order to be in the game to give India a nudge. If you're going to go with the same formula of 300, I don't see them. I don't see. It'll be a one-sided series.
Yeah. All I hope is for this this series to not be that extreme conditions. Like, yeah, you play on spinning tracks. Like, but if it's like too extreme, then I think even these English spinners can also come into the picture and can be a bit of a lottery. But like, I want India to be like 70% advantage, not go to the 90-10 kind of a scenario with the pitch making and all these things. So anyway, so Pranav, so let's come to the Indian side. So the Indian squad, like I think Prasidh Krishna is out, Shardul Thakur is out. I think that can be more of a tactical because in India you don't need that many pacers. But overall, so like even Dhruv Jurel, like wicketkeeper, like someone new who has come into the side. So what's your overall take of the Indian squad going into this 5 match series?
I think the squad's out for only the first 2 tests. But before I get to Indian squad, something that I see in the English side is uh, I might be wrong, but every side which tours India, especially be it say England or Australia, they go overboard on countering spin. But the real threat, and I remember Ravi Shastri mentioned this on air on the South Africa test. The Pacers pick wickets with the new ball. So probably you might say, okay, England play pace well, but the point there is that it's about the mindset. So you're thinking about spin, spin, spin to counter spin, but then suddenly pace comes and takes you out. So that is where they got to be careful because you know suddenly you will get a spell from Bumrah and all of a sudden you're on a cruise mode, but then you have a collapse. You never know. So that is something that you can look forward to because not always all tracks, because see it's winter season, so the ball will definitely move for the first, say, I'd say first half of the session. So probably the morning session they have to be careful because again, you know, if you win the toss, you bat first and you're bowled out for a horrible total, then you're staring at an innings defeat because you won't be able to set a target versus India for the fourth innings because they won't let you do that. So that sort of mindset, if you're coming with only spin, 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 then I don't know what's going to happen. In terms of India, I think the squad is pretty much in line with what was expected. I'm happy for Dhruv Jurel because he has been picked after consistent A performances. He's been doing well in the A side, which has been touring with the likes of Sitanshu Kotak and others. And I'm happy that he's been rewarded. A lot of people will say that Sarfraz Khan could have been rewarded with his A performances, but I think with Sarfraz Khan he was not that consistent with the bat because he scored 150 and then slumped into a certain certain form. Then he scored a brilliant 100 in the intra-squad game that happened in South Africa. So he's slowly coming up the ranks. So I think Sarfaraz will have to wait for one of Gill or Iyer to fail to actually break the doors into the side. And I've been seeing reports that KL Rahul will play as a specialist batter, which I don't think is the case because the side that you see or that we saw play in Cape Town, which consisted of Prasidh Krishna, uh, that change could be like Aksa comes in for Prasidh. That could be the only change that I see because rest of the side picks itself. I'm only talking from the point of view of the first test because now a lot of people might argue KL keeping to spin would be a nightmare, and that is where the challenge for KL as a player is because if you remember, he was dropped from the previous Border Gavaskar midway Border Gavaskar trophy because he was not batting well to spin, despite doing arguably excellently well in England. He was dropped after not doing so well for versus Spain, and Gill was brought back. So I think this shuffle down the order is on purpose, and it's not a two-test experiment that happened in South Africa. So they're looking at probably, if the reports are to be believed, then you will have to ultimately drop one of Gill or Iyer to get KL Rahul as a specialist batter and then play Kona Srikar because Dhruv Jurel will have to wait. So I don't think that's happening at least in Hyderabad because you as much as I've read Dravid and Rohit, they like giving players a longer run on their consistent on a consistent basis. Say they'll at least get 4 to 5 tests to prove their mettle. So I won't say Rahul will get the whole series. He should at least get the first 2 tests because that way you can gauge how he's keeping to spin because I'm sure he's already working with the NCA on that. So there are a lot of people who can help him on that. And then on the spin front, it could be a two-way call. I mean, uh, it'll be between Kuldeep Yadav and Akshar Patel.
Right.
I'd prefer Akshar for his batting, but if you're saying okay, I'll also replace Mukesh Kumar with another spinner, then you can play Akshar and Kuldeep both. So you have Ashwin, Jadeja, Akshar, Kuldeep, but I think that will weaken the batting a little bit. So Akshar starts in place of Prasidh Krishna and in place of Mukesh Kumar. I'm talking from the previous test. So in place of Mukesh, you get Ashwin. So uh, one thing that I would want India to trust more is Akshar's batting because he is an excellent batter. He is not a number 9 player. You need to play him up, and I expect Dravid and Co to do that. So because the way we have seen him bat in first class cricket, he generally bats around 7, 8. He's not as low as number 9. But so even in the partnership that he put on with Virat, I think in March last year in Ahmedabad. So that shows you how good a batsman he is. And to England, please be aware of the straight ball. Okay, I mean you play for the turn, you play for the turn, and then you miss the one which does not turn, and you're bold, especially with Jadeja because is something that I can write as a thread because Jadeja has that tendency of bowling on one single
Right.
spot with different variations, and his variations are so subtle that you won't understand it from the hand, but you will understand it from the release point. So if he's releasing it a little short, then it's going to turn. If he's coming full throttle, then it's going to keep it straight. So probably that's what England got to watch out for. I think it's a good side. There has been very great outrage on what's the side being picked, but good on Shardul Thakur to get back to Ranji and score some runs because this is a 10 test home tour, albeit the World Cup that's going to happen in West Indies and US. Because we have five versus England, two versus Sri Lanka, two versus Bangladesh, I think. No, there's no Sri Lanka actually. There's three versus New Zealand, I think. something of that sort. So there are 10 tests in total before the border Gavaskar. So yeah, I mean, you look forward to an interesting series and pretty excited to actually watch the first test live from Hyderabad. So that is something, and myself and Prakash will be there covering the game.
Nice.
We'll try and do something from the stadium if possible. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I hope the test lasts at least 3 days. And there are no turning pitches. I saw an interview from Oli Pope saying we don't mind if the pitch starts turning from ball one. But I don't think your experts agree with that statement. So yeah, it's a pretty balanced side, and I expect a close series. I mean, I'll disagree with what Prakash said that it'll be a one-sided series. It won't be a one-sided series. I somehow feel India will be challenged at times, but it could be say 3-1 with a draw or something. That's what I feel.
Fair enough. So I'm just like
I
wanna ask. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
no, finish. You finish
No,
yours and
I'm
then I'll
going on
come.
a different direction. You can continue.
Okay, no, I wanted to just quickly touch on the venues. So the first test is at Hyderabad. In general, I think last time they played a game here was in 2013, if I'm
West Indies.
West Indies or Australia, where Michael Clark scored a
West Indies.
West Indies. Okay, you get runs over here. It's not. It does start to turn. Vizag is a flatty. I remember Kohli scored a double hundred here against Sri Lanka. I think 235, and he's got a mad average over here. Maybe this place can be a draw. Then you come to Rajkot, which is the last time England the last time England came here. This was the venue of the first test. It ended in a high-scoring draw, 500
Pujara
played.
scored a double hundred.
Ranchi and Dharamshala. Dharamshala will actually help England, if you ask me, because the ball does do a little bit over there. Ranchi, I'm not too sure of. So I do agree that there'll be a couple of draws in this series. I hope not, but it looks like it.
With Hyderabad, I think two things. I mean, before the World Cup, the pitch has been relayed. So there are a couple of black soil wickets and a couple of red soil wickets from the center square I'm talking about. I don't know which one they'll pick. I hope they pick a red soil wicket because that has consistent bounce. Because if you go back to the recent Ranji Trophy game between Gujarat and Tamil Nadu, the game was in Valsad and it was a red soil wicket and there was consistent bounce and carry through. Now, for those who don't understand red soil wicket, it's basically black soil wickets are such type of clay which eventually due to the baking sun it starts breaking out pretty quickly. But red soil wickets are not of that nature. If you take for an example Mumbai wickets are generally red soil wickets. They don't break out a lot in the heavy sun. They'll still try and hold up. If you give it a little bit grass, it'll start seaming. So I hope they pick red soil wickets because they'll give you runs and then they'll slowly start breaking up with the amount of sun that falls in the last two sessions of the day. So that will give you consistency because you have somebody like Ashwin and Aksar with their height, they'll exploit the bounce. Or even maybe Tom Hartley, they'll exploit the bounce. Also, India need to watch out for Joe Root because he's been an improved bowler more than a batter, and not worry about his reverse sweeps, but rather worry about his off spin.
Yeah. Fair enough. So, like when you say red soil, my mind kind of goes back to I think Monty Panesar and Graeme Swann kind of in
Yeah,
Mumbai, kind of that series
yeah.
we lost. I think so. That kind of yeah, I kind of remember that. So anyway, so like if we, I think regarding the venues, like we can talk about venues, but I think if the Indian think tank wants every pitch to be a very spin dominated, then they can simply just instruct the groundsman to do that. So I mean, at the end of the day, if you are leaving the pitches to their true nature, then what we said actually makes sense because and but if there is some instruction from the team management to make very spin dominated pitches, I feel that kind of any pitch in India you can kind of make it a bit like in favor of the spinners. So anyways,
I
so
think if
yeah, go
you
ahead.
if you go back to the COVID time series when England came here,
Right.
I think it was a five test
Yeah,
affair or a four
yeah,
test
five, I
series.
think five, yeah.
Five,
Three
five.
were
It
played in
was very,
Chennai,
very
two
good
were
pitches,
played in
yeah.
Ahmedabad.
Very good pitches.
Two were played in
So,
Chennai. Two were played in Chennai, and then
oh,
the
yeah,
balance.
three in Ahmedabad. or something of that sort. So basically, they started with a flat wicket in Chennai, and India lost that game, I think, by an innings and some runs. And then they realized this was Ravi Shastri era. By the way. They had just come from the Border Gavaskar Trophy heist, and then in January the Pongal Test started in Chennai. And then they prepared a slow turner, the Bunsen turner that we call, and Ashwin hit a century in his home ground. So, you know, the point that I'm trying to make here is if you're playing, if you're making a wicket that turns, uh, it will not start turning from ball one. First, because of the weather that is there, especially in the likes of the if you so I'm in Mumbai. If you start going up, Prakash is in Chennai. If you again start going up, the Hyderabad part or the Vizag part, or even because we are not coming down, it's only going up the venues. It's even colder. So ball will move, but it will not spin. So for the ball to spin, it has to start breaking. So the point that I'm trying to make here is if the pitch already has cracks, then it will start to turn from ball one. Otherwise, if it's a good wicket which has some foldings within it, the weather will not support it to turn. It will only start turning from day two, second session or something.
Right.
Because you're playing in such conditions where naturally you'll get turn only after day one. So if you're batting on day one, you expect to score of 350 at least 350 maybe, yeah, 350, something of that sort. Because the wickets won't naturally start breaking a lot. It will start breaking, but won't be that um, heavy. And India would go with a heavy roller every now and then so as to assist the batting. So yeah, I mean, just that point that if you're asking for a turning wicket, please be sure that you leave the cracks open. I mean, don't dig in holes, obviously, but that's what the conditions has to support for the ball to turn because only the pitch won't make the ball turn. The conditions also have
I
to
think,
support. It
yeah, I
won't be
think
that
this,
dry.
yeah. Yeah, I think this extreme condition, like we are seeing a rise in like home conditions, like becoming a bit too extreme. I think that has something to do with the World Test Championship points as well, because like teams don't want any drawn matches, especially when they're playing at home. They kind of want to win that match. So in trying to look for that, they kind of sometimes go overboard with the conditions and pitch making, and I think that kind of plays a part. But anyways,
I mean,
so yeah, go
this
ahead.
this this mindset has to change. I mean, for you to actually get WTC points, you're spoiling Test cricket is not acceptable because this is my personal opinion, and you guys can also put your opinions. A draw for me is as good as a win because if you say let's take an example that India enforce a follow on England, okay? In the say second innings, they are bundled out, and England somehow managed to fight back and give India a target of 150 on day five, and India are batting two sessions. Okay, after lunch they start batting. They are 53 for five. Now with 100 runs and five wickets, what would you take? You would take a draw or a win or a loss or a or you're losing. So if India wins, great. But if India draw, that's still a win because it keeps audiences and the spectators glued to the game. And I think that tendency of winning games, wrapping up test matches in three days has to change because again we go back to the game in Sydney. Pakistan had every chance to win that test. They gave it away themselves. So forcing a result should not be that way that you're creating horrible pitch. It should be fought in the 22 yards and you have to win that game.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
Yeah,
obviously put your
I
opinion.
think regarding this, just one point. So I think there needs to be some rules from the ICC also regarding some pitch points reduction if the match finishes up maybe what we saw in South Africa like 2 3 days. If there is some sort of a mandate there, then I think it can be followed because otherwise, if I'm just thinking from a team's point of view, say I'm an Indian cricket team, so I just want to win the match. I don't care about what the audience thinks, right? I want to gain world WTC points and I want to qualify for the finals and win the match. So I will do everything in my power to kind of gain advantage from that perspective. So like I think there needs to be some like more rules or something in place for so that the audience
but
is not shortchanged. Yeah. Yeah, Prakash, your take on
there,
it. Yeah.
there is a rule. I think now after we had that debacle in Indore, and once they came and put the thing unsatisfactory rating on the pitch, I think Indore is not allowed to host a test match for a year or maybe 18 months or something like that.
I think
We
you
made
get
an
some
appeal.
amount of demerit points, I think 6 or something, then I
You
think
get a
So that's
one
five.
demerit point. No. Hold on. Something has changed in this whole thing. Prior to November 2023, there was a change made. I don't know if it was because of the World Cup finals. Back then, there were 6 rating points on wickets. Now they've made it 4. That's why the unsatisfactory thing had come.
Okay.
So there is a mandate in place, but I also want to add something to what Pranav said. The reason why, when a game gets over in 2 days, you're causing yourself a much bigger loss. Even in a final, tickets are not going to be sold. The
Yeah, I mean,
sponsors are going to back out. The television rights who are paying for So you need to revamp the way you sell Test cricket. That's the issue. We don't. You see, I'll tell you another thing that people don't even know. In spite of test matches being held for 5 days, when it is sold to the broadcaster, it is sold as one unit. You're not selling it on a daily basis. And the same thing when you come to a T20 is also one T20 game, which finishes in 3 hours, is still sold as one unit, and it fetches a lot of more money than test match cricket. So we need to, I don't think the ICC is capable of doing it because they've tried. And to be honest, I don't even think the WTC works. It doesn't work. It needs a lot of tinkering, but at least we are somewhere. We are in the 4 years into it. We are somewhere, but it still needs a lot of tinkering to be done. But another thing I'll say, England are going to come and whine and bitch and moan about the pitches regardless. So you make what you want. That I have no issues with. Yes, don't make it too one-sided. Because if you go back to the Ashes that recently happened, Ben Stokes drops a catch of Nathan Lyon, if you remember, in Edgbaston. That's where the game went away. He put his hand out and it hit his hand and it went back. Now, they brought all the boundaries in by 10, 15 meters in all the games. And they purposely made Edgbaston and Lords a flat deck so their batsmen could go. So they're doing it. They will give you a claim that it wasn't impossible to bat on, which is fair. But their own doings made them lose that game because had the boundary been back, that catch was straight in the hand.
Right.
So there are things that you do to favor you, but they can end up coming and biting you in the backside later. And I just hope India that doesn't happen to us. That's all.
Yeah, fair point. So I think if we can like wrap this up with this one question I kind of have. So if you're any visiting side coming to India, right? Because I think this is the biggest challenge for any visiting side, test side coming. It's kind of the final frontier for all the teams. So what should your mindset actually be like? Yeah, you're gonna prepare well and all these things, I understand. But say you win the toss, bat first. So how do you actually tackle this threat of Ashwin and Jadeja on say little bit of spinning pitches? How do you actually play them? Like I know you need to be technically proficient, but there needs to be a mindset kind of a thing. Like, how do you be a bit more attacking? Do you go sometimes you step out and play, or you kind of like anyone can take this? Like, how do batters actually tackle this? I think it's an incredibly difficult task to actually face Ashwin Jadeja in tandem in Indian conditions. So how do people actually bat? Like, what should be the mindset be like?
There are two players who've come here, actually three, who've come here and done it, and I'll name all of them. Kevin Peterson, Michael Clark in 2013, and who's the third guy? Forgetting his name. But these guys came and put pressure back on us.
Alistair Cook.
Unlike the other guys who sit and play from the crease. If you're going to play from the crease, you are done. Like how in the wicket in South Africa, one ball is going to get you. You cannot play from the crease over here. And Smith was the third guy. They figured it out. Each person does it in his own way. Michael Clark will come down the pitch. Smith will stay and play from the crease. And then once in a while, he'll come down. But when he comes down, he means it. It's going for 6.
Exactly.
Kevin Peterson, I don't need to say anything. That 182 at Mumbai is probably rated the best innings that overseas batsman has played over here. You can't, you need to be positive, but you need to, if you win the toss, you need to make 600 runs and your openers need to get a chunk of those runs. And your top 3, basically.
Yeah. So I think what we are kind
I
of
think
thinking is that we need proper clarity in the mind when you're batting. Either you kind of, when you're defending, defend, and when you're going for it, just go for it, not thinking
I
anything.
think
Yeah,
if you look at it, when you're playing on say turning wickets, I said England have to be cautious about the non-turning ball, because when you go back to the Ahmedabad test where it was a pink ball affair, uh, most of the batters got out to a straight delivery, because the pink ball has a more procure seam, hits the seam and doesn't turn, and then you're castled. But what you have to understand is, and this could be a very cliche line that all the comms say on air, don't have to let the bowlers settle, because for every bowler, every spell of his is a new over, right? So probably what you have to do is try and score. And when I'm saying you need to try and score, of course you need to go to a shell when it's required. But you try and score, you try and be positive. For that you'll have to try and read them from their hands, because you know as as either you will be out caught on the slips or the short leg, because you have to look at the amount of dismissals that have been here in India in the last say, couple of years. It has been the LBW percentage has been very less with the DRS in place. So you have to know when to get your legs out and sweep the ball, or you have to know when to play it away from your body, play it late, or of course your batting coaches can tell you that. But what I'm trying to say here is you need to be aware of the mode of dismissals that happen when you're playing a game. So especially if you have fielders around you, you don't try and block every ball. You try and score, because then you'll rotate the strike and then put pressure on the bowlers, because of course England have their own tactics to counter spin. But here we are only talking about how to be positive in terms of playing spin. I'd say you have to keep scoring, at least say take three or four singles in one Ashwin's over, then he'll start trying something different, because Ashwin
right.
is a thinking bowler. Not I'm not saying Jadeja is not or Aksar is not, but Ashwin is a thinking bowler. When you try scoring of him, say when he puts you put him away for four, he'll suddenly try and bowl a different length or have a leg slip, because he has 10 plans with him. So yeah, I mean, you just have to be try and be positive, uh, put the loose balls away, and that should be your way to go, because I think their batting coach is Marcus Despotic,
Yes.
Yeah,
England. So he does play spin okay. I'm not sure about his actual
No,
spin
no,
game.
he's a good player. He was a good player of spin. He was a
Yeah,
very good player.
so probably there was one line from Bharat Ramraj which said try and play without pads when you're batting Indians, because with the DRS era you have to take those chances where you know what sort of shots you're playing. Say if you're leaving the ball and it's going to miss the next. So that sort of a thing has to come.
yeah,
Quickly, also wanted to add, provided if Ashwin plays all the 5 games at Dharamshala, it will be his 100th test.
100th
yeah,
game, yeah,
So
and
that's the
he could get to 500 test wickets.
500. I think he'll do it before the second or third test. That's just a formality as far as I'm concerned. But
Mhm.
it's a big thing for a guy from Chennai playing 100 tests. I don't think any cricketer has done it.
Yeah, I mean
Shout out to him for that.
it's an incredible career. I think hats off to him for actually staying fit, playing almost all the formats. He's been playing T20 World Cup last year, played this World Cup, might end up playing the WTC final. So kudos to Ash.
yeah,
No, I think what we'll do is when we near his 100th test, we'll do a tribute.
yeah, sure,
I've got a lot of stories about Ashwin that
sure,
are
sure.
unheard of. We
Yeah,
can.
Yeah. So yeah, so I guess like this is what kind of we had to discuss for the preview of this India England series. Like it's an exciting series because like England since Brendan McCullum has come in has been winning overseas as well. Like has been playing with a very positive mindset, which is kind of refreshing to see from their perspective. So because they have been going through a very downward time in Test cricket before that. So anyway, so I think this kind of sets it up nicely for an Indian home season to begin. And also, I think I want to see how Shubman Gill actually plays at the number 3 position. Like, I think he's gonna score a lot of runs, especially in Indian conditions. But like, I think it will be an important series for him as well. So anyways, so I think like this is what we had for today. Hope you all enjoyed this discussion, and do like given your thoughts as well. How do you see England tackling spin in India, or how do you see any visiting side for that matter like playing spin? So like we just want to explore and know, have gain more knowledge, discuss with you all, share our thoughts and all these things. And also please do like can follow our Twitter page as well. So I will share the link in the description as well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please do keep supporting and sharing and subscribing and like whatever. Let's have a good time together. So cheers. Have a great time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye
Cheers. See
bye.
you in Hyderabad. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.